What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me on this week's episode is the one and only Retro Ray.
What's going on, guys? I'm riding on a high from the interview that was released today.
We'll talk about that in a second. And joining us once again from the Star Wars Stuff podcast, the man himself, David Lozano. What's going on, sir?
I am Groot.
Very nice, very nice. Uncanny how much that sounded like Groot. It was fantastic. If you're in the chat, say what's up. We got a great show for you guys. At the end of our show, we're going to be getting into a spoiler review of this past weekend's mega film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If you haven't seen it, don't worry. Not talking about it just yet. That'll be at the end of our show. Also, some folks are going to be joining us tonight because we are giving away San Antonio advanced screening passes to The Little Mermaid. So if you're here for that, stay tuned. Not giving them out just yet. But first, going to be talking about this week's Geeky Weekly Headlines. And you know what? First off, we'll talk about what Ray and I partaked in earlier today. We conducted an interview with our first Ghostface. If you were a fan of Scream 6, maybe you didn't watch it, maybe you did, but the stuntman who played Ghostface just wonderfully was Max Laferriere, and we had about a 45-minute conversation with him, talked about how he got started in show business, talked about his experience on the set, talked about just Scream movies in general. If you want to see that interview, head on over to our YouTube channel after this stream, not right now, after this stream, and go check out that video. It was a lot of fun. Thanks again to Max for doing so. My first Ghostface interview. Ray, our first Ghostface interview. Anything you want to say about the interview, Ray?
No, man, it came out good, especially the way you added little stuff into it. Beautiful.
We had added some clips, some behind the scenes footage. There's a lot that we had, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so now let's get into this week's Geeky Weekly Headlines. And there's no shortage of headlines anymore going forward. So the first thing we're going to talk about, if you saw it, you know exactly why we're talking about it. But it's official. Beetlejuice Part 2 will be out next year in September 2024. Oh, you know what? Hold the phone. Stop everything. Hold the presses. Joining us once again, the man behind the magic, Joe Garcia. What's going on, Joe? Sorry, man, I didn't see you there. Joe?
He doesn't see us either.
Sorry, I can't hear anything, so I'm gonna see if I can fix it here.
You know what? We'll get back to Joe in just that's how long it's been since he's been on the show, but it's fine. All right, let's get back to the headlines. Beetlejuice 2 featuring Michael Keaton, bringing back Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara. Also, adding to the cast, Jenna Ortega, who will be playing the daughter of Winona Ryder. Beetlejuice 2 drops next year in September of 2024. And gentlemen, my first question goes out to you. Are you hyped for this film, or is it a classic franchise and they should never touch it again? Ray, what about you, man?
Dude, if Michael Keaton's involved, I'm in 100%. I mean, Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice. No one can replace him. I mean, can't ask for anything else. And then Ortega's acting is phenomenal, so it's going to be sweet. I'm looking forward to it.
What about you, Dave? What are your thoughts, man?
I really like that Michael Keaton's coming back, and he's kind of having this turn of like kind of what Harrison Ford did, going back to Blade Runner, coming back to Indiana Jones, coming back to Star Wars. I think Michael Keaton, we all know he's back as 89 Batman in The Flash. He's coming back to this, but this has been really long rumored, I think, and in the pipeline to do a sequel. And I think it's very fortuitous timing for Jenna Ortega to join up, and she's a big star now, or at least an up-and-coming star. I think this will work well for the younger generation as well as the old heads. So,
You know what? No, she's probably the biggest star out right now, other than Pedro Pascal. Those two right now are in like their own stratosphere. Not only are they just doing projects left and right, big time franchises, big movies, but they're also extremely likable people. Like there's no reason
Yeah.
to not like anything that they're doing. If you're in the chat, we want to hear from you. Beetlejuice 2, like it, dislike it. We want to know, what do the fans think? Now, if you ask me, I'm very keen about touching old movie properties. It leads me to believe that they finally came up with a compelling story that's worth telling. You're right, Dave. It's been like over a decade, maybe they've been developing this movie, rumored for like that much amount of time. I think that they finally came up with something really compelling. Now, my first initial thought when I heard when Lydia's daughter is going to be in the movie is that, oh, please don't try and marry Lydia's daughter. That could get awkward. It could be the thing that they go for, but it could be awkward. You know what? Actually, I think more of is that another individual was announced as a part of this cast, Justin Theroux, and he is a huge talent. You don't
Yes.
bring a guy in like Justin unless you're the Last Jedi. Sorry, um,
He can roll a
Dave,
mean paradise, man.
Dave knows what I'm talking about. You don't bring in a guy in like Justin unless you need him to do some heavy lifting in your film. So I feel like when you come up with sequels, the thing that you kind of try and do is team up movies. I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but usually first movie you got like a villain, you got like your antagonist. When you come up with an idea for a second movie, sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So maybe Lydia needs to partner with Beetlejuice in order to take on this new entity, ghoul, demon. Maybe Jenna is kidnaps, ghost napped, whatever else. And I'm just throwing out ideas. When Lydia's daughter's in trouble, you have to team up with Beetlejuice to take out this other thing, and maybe Justin Theroux is playing some other ghoul or goblin. Either way, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with this. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. Why wouldn't you want that? Honestly. Gunner's in the chat. What's going on, Gunner? He says, I just hope that they bring Danny Elfman back to make the soundtrack for it. I feel like you have to,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you really need the whole team. Um, it's not going to
Swole
have the
Danny
same
Elfman.
feel. The dude is jacked. And plus, like, he's making all kinds of music these days, putting on concerts at Coachella. Like, the dude's a rock star. But we also want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about it? Beetlejuice 2, bringing back half the cast from last time, kind of, all the big names that they could. And what are we going to see? Your theories, drop them in the comments, please. We want to know about that. Awesome. Coming up next on the Geeky Weekly Headlines list was something I didn't think we were actually going to get any information for this soon. But the rumors are that Mortal Kombat 2, which, the first one, I don't blame it for not really getting the praise that we thought it would. I liked it for what it was, but I understand that it wasn't like blowing everybody's minds like it was supposed to. Either way, MK2, the film, is still in development, and now we have our rumored lead for Johnny Cage. You know him as Carl Urban. David, your thoughts on potentially Carl playing Johnny Cage in MK2?
I never really kind of thought about Carl Urban for the role of Johnny Cage, but now when you have his picture like side by side and you think about it a little bit more, and of course we've all seen The Boys, and it fits, if he can play that same type of character, Butcher, and The Boys, kinda, I think it does work. And Johnny Cage is a big character that a lot of people were thinking that he was going to be in Mortal Kombat, but they didn't have Johnny Cage, they made up a brand new character for that first film. But yeah, I think Carl Urban, he is ascending. He's another one of those actors, like you mentioned, Justin Theroux, that is a great actor. He's just a little under the radar, hasn't really hit the mainstream. So I think this is a very, very clever pick, I think, for Johnny Cage.
Ray, what about you, sir? Your thoughts on Urban potentially playing Johnny Cage? This is a rumor, by the way, but it was one of those rumors of like it came out of nowhere. There's nobody else on this list, and some very well credentialed people are the ones kind of spouting this rumor. So, Ray, your thoughts, man?
Well, Johnny Cage is a character that you kind of have. That's kind of like that's full of himself because he's a star and martial artist and all that stuff. So I can really see Urban pulling that off to an extent because, like you said, taking a little bit of the butcher with that cockiness and attitude, then just turn it around with the Hollywood spin to it. I can see him pull it off. But the only thing is, I love Mortal Kombat. I've loved it since the beginning, but I'm worried. They've done a couple of movies. Like the first one they did was not bad. I think it just was not, the technology wasn't there for it back in the day, but it had a good premise to start with. It just, the technology wasn't there. Now with all the CGI and everything, it's there, and they can bring it to life the way it should have been brought to life. Don't get me wrong, the one that came out recently, I didn't like the story arc, the way they kind of went with it. But if they were to go back to the original and use current technology with a little bit of story, I think it would be way better off than what we had in the
You're
past.
talking about the original, right? Like the '90s one.
Yeah, the original. Yeah, that one. That one, it wasn't bad at all. Like I said, I mean, the premise, like the casting of Luke Cage was, I like the casting for Luke Cage that was in it. The actor who played Raiden, I was kind of iffy on. You know what I mean? Little things like that. Just little things that they
Sorry.
could have done differently. But like I said, now I think they can do it better if Hollywood doesn't get involved and change things the way they always do.
Well, I want to ask somebody else what their thoughts are. So let's try this one more time. The man behind the magic, you know him as Joe Garcia. What's going on, sir?
Hey, what's up? Now I can hear everybody. So
Fantastic,
Oh, nice.
fantastic. Your thoughts on Carl potentially playing Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat sequel?
well, I'm kind of, a little bit think a little different than Ray does because every iteration of Mortal Kombat or of, other movie franchises that they try to remake and reboot and whatnot, you have to look at them as they're their own standalone uh, movie. So you got to give it due justice. Comparing like to the old, I guess like the originals. Yeah, the originals are kind of in a top tier of their own because at the time it was like the first one was actually really good. I thought it was
Yeah.
amazing when you go to the theater, and as a young adult at that time, you were already playing Mortal Kombat in the arcades, and you knew about it, and it was like pop culture thing. So going and watching it, come to life on the big screen was something that was to be enjoyed, and fans throughout the world got excited for this. And every time they announce, "Hey, we're going to be doing Mortal Kombat," fans across the world again, they get all excited about it. And you know, having somebody portray, I mean, Johnny Cage, and see what they can do with it, I'm for it, man. Especially with his history and what his range as an actor and what he's been able to do. I was a fan of his, over in the Boys, and even when he came out on Star Trek, the reboot, um, I thought he did a great job. So I'd like to see what he does with the character. How is he going to go ahead and kind of make it his own? Everybody's going to have to go ahead and put their own flavor. So I'm for it, man. I want to see what they're going to do with this. The reboot of the Mortal Kombat, the first movie, the first part, me and you saw it in a private screening, Teddy, and I gotta say that it left a little bit to be desired, but as far as the gore factor and the finishing moves, it was there. It just kind of lacked a little bit, but I know they got to kind of build it up for a sequel and whatnot. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, the thing that Warner Brothers really has a problem with, and I've talked about this a lot, a lot, especially with their DC films, is their marketing. You need to get the right tone and expectations to your audience for your movies. When you throw out a movie called Mortal Kombat, we're expecting a damn tournament, and there was no tournament. So
Yeah.
maybe call it something else. Mortal Kombat, the dawn of, I don't know, kung
Justice.
fu, something. Mortal Kombat: The Beginning, Mortal Kombat Begins, or
Sub
something.
Zero's Revenge.
Hey, anything would have been better than not people going in expecting to have this big sort of tournament type film, much like the original, much like the sequel of the original, but it was a lot terrible. But hopefully, we get something more along the lines of what we're expecting in the sequel. I hope so. I think they have the potential to just kill it. The actors they have under this project are phenomenal. Their skills are fantastic. Um, the the CG, the special effects from the last one were all great. It's just the story wasn't as
It was
big as
lack.
you want it to be.
Yeah.
Gunner is still in the chat saying, "I loved the Mortal Kombat 2021 film. It would be interesting to see more characters from the game, like Johnny, Katana, Shao Kahn, and Ermac, just to name a few. They got to. They absolutely have to."
I want to see
Uh,
Cabal.
Also, what is your opinion on the Mortal Kombat Legends cartoon films? I am behind. I've only seen the first one, Scorpion's Revenge. Loved it. Loved every second of it. And I think there's at least one or two more that are out. I think they're on HBO Max. But more movies like these animated films they're putting out, because
Well, you're
those
gonna have to
are
rename it the
incredible.
Max now. You're gonna have to start calling it the Max
The
as of
Max.
May the 23rd.
Yeah.
The Max, which was the restaurant in Saved by the Bell, right? This gonna
Yeah.
confuse the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Also,
You're gonna have
the
to start calling
short-lived
it instead of
animated.
HBO Max, Max.
Yeah, you guys remember the MTV animated show, The Max?
Oh, I
thought
remember
was pretty
that.
cool.
The Max, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I do
Rob
not.
Liefeld was the one that was the original designer, the artist behind that comic book. Very iconic, style of art that he chose for it. So I loved that one, the Max, and I also liked that one era of I guess animation from MTV. They had the Max, they had Aeon Flux, and of course Beavis and Butthead thrown in there too. And they tried, but we're gonna forget about that to go ahead and bring in Spider-Man. But man, it was so bad. It was horrible, man.
Why do I not remember that? There was a
It was bad.
Spider-Man series on MTV?
Yep, on MTV, and it was done in
Yeah.
CGI, and it was
Short-lived.
horrible CGI.
Wow.
It was like one of those that you want to forget about. You can go and look it up. I think they have episodes. They only played a couple of them, and they have a couple of the episodes available, I think, on YouTube or something. You can go check it out, but you're not gonna want to go watch it.
No idea. It can't be any worse than like the first, not the first, but there was a live action Spider-Man bit on, was it the Electric Company? And he would like a dude dressed as Spider-Man would come out, and he wouldn't really stop crime. He would do like petty things, like he'd be like, "Oh, a cat in the tree. Here you go, little girl," and that was it. And it's just like, okay. But it was, it was a toddler, a kid's TV show at the time, so I understand he's not gonna be like punching people. But anyways, back to the chat.
Hey, look at
John
the
Yeager,
nerd Jones. Look what he says.
hold on. John Yeager says, "I just don't see Carl Urban as Johnny Cage." I I mean, I can kind of see where people are coming from when they say that. We've seen Carl kind of play a very similar roles like all the time, even in the MCU. When he played, I forget the guy's name, but I understand.
Thor.
People were like really rooting for the Miz to take on this role, and I'm like, oof, the Miz, he's got that attitude and everything you kind of want in a Johnny Cage character, but can you really act? I don't know if he can. I understand wrestling calls for a certain level, of performance, but Miz has kind of been like this since he was
You
on
never
like
saw The
the
Miz
real
in the real
world.
world, New Orleans? Come
I
on, man.
did, but he's always acted like this is what I'm saying. So I
Yeah,
don't I
he's
don't
an
know.
actor. He's an actor.
I love seeing him
Uh
body slam Coral.
Betty B says they should just cast Simu Liu. That'd be interesting. They should really put him in there somewhere. Legacy and Nerd says, love the YouTube series they were doing at one point. Ooh, the live action Mortal Kombat YouTube series was on point. They even put that on a Blu-ray
Yeah.
and DVD, which was incredible. I actually wish they would have ran with that project, but alas, they did not. And we're still getting something pretty darn good right now. Neil Patrick Harris voiced Spider Man, and they actually had the Fantastic Four in that MTV series. Why? How old was I when this came out?
Man, you
Yeah,
were
that's a
probably pretty
blank spot
young,
in my
man.
memory.
Wow, it's insane.
I do remember the head though. You
What's it
guys
y'all
remember
bought?
that with the demon that lived inside the guy's head?
What?
Oh god.
That was the show before the Max, I think, because they were doing a whole like big animation push.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name.
Was
Yeah.
this before or after Ren and Stimpy? Because they also went
1994.
after
Yeah.
Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, it was 1994.
All right, all right.
Yeah, it was before your time, Ted.
Matty B says, "I'm just here for the Star Wars helmet giveaway. When does that start, David?" He's got a few. He's got a few there.
Knowing Matty B, he wants to win a booty Catan.
Yeah, you got to get that signed pretty soon, right?
He's probably gonna have to drop some coin down for that. But hey, gotta watch the merchandise though, Matty.
Here we go. Next topic for the Geeky Weekly Headlines, because I think there's a few people that might be waiting for this Little Mermaid San Antonio screening giveaway. Stay tuned. That'll be in just a few minutes.
Is
Uh,
Ray gonna go dressed as the Little Mermaid to the premiere?
yes, but he said only if you go dressed as Flounder.
No, you know who I want to see
Ooh.
dressed in that little, I guess the get up, the bikini, and let's get Jericho to go as the Little Mermaid.
If he
Somebody
wants those
can go
tickets, he
there.
better, right? Right. Next topic on the agenda is regarding DC Studios and one guy we're going to be talking about very soon here, James Gunn.
You couldn't
So
pick a better picture, Ted. He looks high in this one, man.
he kind of always does, though. So it's fine. It's fine. He doesn't mind. James Gunn revealed in a few interviews over the weekend, no spoilers, but that as we all expected, he's officially done with Marvel. He's going to be full time DC from here on out. Don't expect any stories or movies regarding the Guardians to go happen with him being involved going forward. But he did say something that was very interesting, and this was on his Twitter page. He was replying to fan questions. He did say that you can expect members of the cast of the Guardians to be involved in DC projects going forward, especially Superman Legacy, which is the movie that he's writing for the new DC studios. So, gentlemen, I pose a question to you as well as you watching at home. Which of the original cast members or just the lead cast members would you like to see as a DC character, and who would you want them to play? I don't know who's thought about this yet, so
I haven't. I'll be honest.
I'll go first here, and I'll say that I want a Bane that is more comic accurate, and also a little bit more depth to him. Dave Batista needs to play Bane in DC Universe. I want to see that happen. He's got the size, he's got the acting chops. Just put a legit Bane outfit on him, give him some material to work with, and let him run with it. It doesn't matter to me if it's in a Justice League movie or a Batman movie, whatever it is. Bane, played by Dave Batista. That's my only hope. Dave, what do you got, Dave?
I've seen a lot of interviews with Batista talking about how he kind of wants to move on from like the superhero stuff and wants to be more of a thespian. But his acting has tremendously improved. He's probably our best wrestler turned actor in mainstream films that we have.
100%.
His work in Blade Runner 2049 was awesome. Um, I've also seen other interviews where it's Chris Pratt and James Gunn talking, and the interviewer will bring up DC. And there was a moment where it was kind of half jokingly, I think, or maybe 100% jokingly, but um, James Gunn said that Chris Pratt had been cast in Superman Legacy as Crypto, Superman's dog, which I don't think Crypto speaks at all. But so that was a joke there. There's another joke stating that Chris Pratt was going to be cast as Batman in the whole Batman Damian Wayne storyline there, and he said, yeah, sure. And he said, this is how I'm going to speak. And he used a really high pitched voice for his Batman voice. It was kind of funny. But yeah, also in another interview, I heard that James Gunn said that one Guardian had already been cast in one of his projects, but he wouldn't say who. So yeah, I have no idea. My mind is still on the Guardians of the Galaxy, which we're going to talk about later in spoilers. But yeah, I mean, James Gunn, I think he has free reign for anyone that he's worked with because he's just loved by all of his cast universally throughout every project. And we talked about it on a previous podcast, how he has like his inner circle of actors that he always calls upon, like Nathan Fillion and Michaela, and there's so many others. Michael Rosenbaum. So yeah, I haven't really put any thought as to which Guardians would play in the DC universe, but I know there's a lot of fan reaction to that, and I think several fans have brought up the equivalency of who should play who on social media. But
Sure.
yeah, I haven't gone as far as to think who he would cast, and I'm still waiting on Batista to play Marcus Phoenix for Gears of War. I really want to see that.
Please.
And that's like his kind of like pet dream project that he wants to do. And I'm a huge Gears of War fan. So that's something that I want to see realized. And I think it's a Netflix property.
I think you're right. I think it is a Netflix property.
Yeah.
And it needs to be TV, MA, or what's the highest you can go? MA? Yeah.
There's
I
a
think that's the
chainsaw on their
highest.
gun. So, I mean,
Chainsaw, just blood, gore, like just Evil Dead level, just gore fest nonstop. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Maddie B is making me laugh, man, with his comments, dude.
Hang on. We gotta go in order here. Legacy Nerd says Batista as Parasite. That's interesting because Parasite's been drawn, animated a number of ways. We've even had a live action Parasite in the Superman and Lois series, which was done very differently. Go check that out. Gunnar says Chris Pratt as Green Lantern could possibly work. Which one? Hal, not Stewart, obviously.
I think Bradley Cooper would work actually
Kyle?
better.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see. Pratt as Hal would be that would be pretty dope. I would not hate that, honestly.
There's a lot
Bradley,
of fan castings though for Chris Pratt to play Booster Gold though, and I think that works really well.
that also works really well. Let's see. Maddie says that's low hanging fruit, Teddy. It's what I've been calling for years. Sean Gunn as Mr. Mixaplex.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper as Lex Luthor. Ooh, have we ever seen Bradley as a bad guy other than like Wedding Crashers?
Wedding Crashers was a great bad guy.
He was a great bad guy. Will Poulter as Jimmy Olsen.
That's a really good casting right there.
I love that.
That is spot on right there.
I love it. But he has to lose some of those muscles though. Jimmy Olsen's not to be that swole.
I don't know, swole Jimmy Olsen. I mean,
he's not supposed to take care of himself. I love the idea though. Maddie B says, "Why in the world do we need to recycle actors like that? There's over 6 billion people on the planet. There are other actors to fill these roles. No more Chris Pratt. I mean, my gosh." James is just the type of guy that he likes working with the people that he works with, and I think that's all it is. If you know people can do it, if you know they mean well, they work hard, they're cool people to hang around. You keep 'em around. That's why I keep all these guys around. I love hanging out with them. Ray, your thoughts on any of the Guardians cast being future DC characters? Any idea?
Well, I mean, I know Rosenbaum, of course. To me, out of all the Lex Luthors, to me he was the best Lex Luthor for me. But I wouldn't mind seeing him because he's at that age of older Lex now that he could pull off. But I don't know if he'd want to shave his head again. Um,
Oh, I
but
think he would be all in for another crack at Luther.
yeah, I mean, like I said, with him, but then also there's other characters like you said. It's Chris Pratt. I mean, he's in everything already. Keeping the same people. Nathan Fillion. There was always rumors about him playing Green Lantern. Um, but I mean, and also you got to remember too, they stated whoever plays the voice actors in the cartoon series will be playing the voice actors in live action. Now, is that 100% canon? Because then you got to factor in, okay, because they're saying they're going to keep them together, so it's going to be interesting. But like I said, I do have faith in Gunn. What he did with Guardians was freaking awesome. He made you like characters and love characters that really were not really big in the comic book world, compared to like Superman, Batman. So his writing is awesome. So I'm looking forward to what he puts together.
He is a wizard. He is a mastermind, and how he's going to do that with characters like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman is the challenge of all challenges because they're not relatable people. They are gods among us, is what they are. So, I wish him the best of luck. I really hope that he kills it. He does well, gets DC back on a stable trajectory, and we'll see what happens. Joe, what about you, sir? Your thoughts on any of the Guardians portraying a DC character? Who would you want to see?
I'm not really sure, man. I'm not really keeping up with all that stuff. I've been so busy working, dude, and my brain is fried. Can't really think. I already feel like I'm high, and I ain't smoked a joint yet. I feel like that picture of James Gunn right now. But you know what? Going back and the other couple weeks ago, I was watching TV, and all of a sudden, the old Superman came out, the original from 1978. I got to tell you, man, nobody's gonna do a Lex Luthor better than Gene Hackman, man. Still holds up, man. Still holds up to this day. He was great at portraying Lex Luthor. So I like that. But Joe, I like Joe Manganiello, as Deathstroke. We only got to really see a little tiny bit of him, in that, I guess, that extra scene or the end credit scene.
Yeah,
But that was it, man. I mean, you look at the video games and you have like all these guys going at it in one scene trying to off Batman. You have what's his name? That guy that shoots all the time. What's his name? The one that Will Smith portrayed, Deadshot.
Deadshot.
You had Deathstroke. You had everybody else going at Batman in this one, and when this one cutscene that I saw from one of the video games, and that was pretty fire, man. Like if they could actually make that happen in real life, that'd be something to get excited about. But again, they have to go ahead and look for a different pool, I think, of actors, going and recycling the same old actors, whether they be in Marvel or previous DC films or whatnot. Doesn't really cut it. I think if you want to stay true to life, maybe go ahead and use the same actors or some of the actors that portray some of these characters in the DC universe that we see in the series already. Like for example, the Flash, and you've seen the Penguin, you've seen a young Batman, and all these other different types of series. Kind of straight, stay true to life and go ahead and follow that suit. You don't always have to go after these big time A-listers. I would go ahead and forego paying the money to the A-listers, going with talent that can actually perform and act and already have a following, and go ahead and put that money into an actual storyline. Make it make sense. Make a good story. Make the special effects practical. Doesn't always have to be CGI. But if you have a good story at its base, everything else will kind of fall into place. In my opinion, you look at some of these older movies that let's say they made in the 80s, superhero, I guess, movies that they had come out, and they didn't have a lot of special effects, but they had good acting, they had a good storyline. Batman, case in point, They didn't have a whole lot of CGI back then. They relied on models, miniatures, and it still held up. So I don't know. Just go ahead and don't try to break the bank. Just go ahead and deliver a good storyline and good actors outside of the realm of what we've already seen. Don't rehash them. I'm hopeful that James Gunn will actually do something right here. Give other actors a chance to portray some characters and see what they can do.
It just popped into my head. Zoe Saldana, who should be someone in the DC universe, could she be the James Gunn universe's Catwoman? And then you have two Catwomen that are both named Zoe. That could be a thing. We'll see. Gunner says, I meant the Hal Jordan versions of the Green Lantern. I actually forgot there are multiple different versions of Green Lantern. There are multiple men, there are multiple women, there are bugs, bees, aliens, all kinds of Green Lantern across the universe.
They need to do
Um,
a film like that. What if they showed
they
different
are. They
Green?
are.
They showed multiple Green Lanterns at the same time, at different points in time. Have kind of a storyline that intersects and shows what's going on with each one of them at their certain points of time, and have that intersect into a bigger story arc and how their decisions and what they do affects the other timelines. That would be awesome. Just kind of like the Flash, you know.
Yeah, they might actually do that on the Max. Green Lantern Corps is going to be a series.
That would be
So,
fire, man.
yeah.
And it was supposed to be a series with some older lanterns, the original lantern. I forget his name right now. But then they said, no, 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 no. We're sorry. We we weren't thinking straight. Now it's going to be a Hal Jordan, John Stewart sort of buddy cop show. So I think it's freaking amazing. I'm glad they're actually giving
Yeah,
us what
because
we
they
want.
got different.
Is Vin Diesel playing Superman?
Yeah.
He's gonna say, "All I need is family." All you need is family.
I actually heard a rumor
Hey,
that
then we'll get 10 movies for that one.
That
Say
what,
what?
right?
We'll get 10 movies out of that
No,
one.
man. I
Vin
hope
Diesel.
not, dude. No, thanks, man. They need to end this Fast X or whatever they call it. Just put it out of its misery, man. They can be wheeling them out in wheelchairs now.
You got two more. You got two more. And then
Why?
it's done.
The question is why.
Because they make $1 billion. If people would stop paying the
Let's
money,
see if this
they
one
wouldn't
does make
stop them.
$1 billion. I guarantee you, people are getting tired of it, man.
I think it'll make $1 billion. I
We'll
think it'll
see.
make $1
Let's
billion.
go ahead and play that little. Was it fantasy? For the week, the
We'll get to
weekend
that. We'll
box
get to
office
that.
pick. Let's see how well this one does.
Absolutely. General Kenobi says, when is the first James Gunn DC movie? That would be Superman Legacy, July of 2025. So we're like 2 years away. Expect production to happen sometime later this year. If it's a Superman movie, they're
No,
gonna
it's
have to
not gonna
start
happen later
early.
this year. The writer's strike. Come on, everything's delayed.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
Well,
there's also going to
but
be
this
there's rumors of
the
an actor
script is
strike
done.
too.
Yeah,
Like
James Gunn is the
James
only
is
writer.
already James is the only writer.
No,
The
but
script
they
is
always have
done.
rewrites, Teddy. Come on.
Not on James Gunn film.
I doubt that.
Marvel says, James, do what you want. You make us money. DC's gonna say, James. Well, he's his own boss now. So
Him and
James,
Marvel aren't
do what
friends
you
no
want.
more, man. They booted him out and they brought him back because the fans were rioting.
Intersect. I don't know. Fast movies equals step sibling corny. It will never end unless people stop watching. I completely
And
concur.
they haven't done the multiverse yet, so
No, I bet you anything they're gonna wind up saying after the movies are over, they're gonna have a prequel and they're gonna call it the Fast and Furious the series. I'll be like, dude, I'm out.
Done.
kind of
Donezo.
fast, kind of furious. Yeah.
Used to be fast, used to be furious.
You know, it'd be interesting if you go ahead and order a Fast and Furious DVD and see what you get from Wish. So we'll send it to Jericho and tell him to watch it.
There you go. Well, that'll be it for our Geeky Weekly Headlines. Just want to remind everyone, if you're just joining us now, we did a great interview with the stuntman who played Ghostface in Scream 6. That interview is out on our YouTube channel. Go check that out later on or tomorrow if you can. And also, go to our Facebook page. There's still time for you to enter into our Guardians of the Galaxy giveaway. We have a IMAX poster, a sticker set, And also an official hat from Marvel Studios for the Guardians film. Look at that. Awesome. So cool.
Very
And
cool.
I'd
That
be all
is
over that, man. If you added some Guardians of the Galaxy edibles, dude, a little spice into it, you know?
for sure, for sure. That is courtesy of the Countdown City Geeks, as well as our friends at Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch, who just real quick had a fantastic free comic book day. Hope you guys participated wherever you're at. But we had a blast. I was taking videos, meeting with people, and then like a tornado like ran through the place for like 5 minutes, like it
Yeah.
has been for the last week. It's just been nuts. Awesome. Matty B wants me to remind folks about Comic Palooza, which is happening the last weekend of this month,
Yeah.
and Matty B and myself will be in attendance. So
You're
if
gonna
you're
be
in
going to Houston?
the Houston area, we will see you
Houston?
guys at Comic Palooza. I'll probably be over there for like a day, maybe two, and should be a fun time. Definitely.
Oh, you can stay with Maddie B, man. I mean, you can stay over there a couple days now. Come on, Ted.
I still got to work. Still got family and stuff. So
You
yeah,
work
we'll
from
figure it
home.
out.
Just take the laptop with you, brother.
I used to. I used to work from home full time. Things have changed. Why are we talking about this right now? We'll get
Oh,
we'll talk
I
about that
wish
later.
I could go. I would go and join you guys, but I'm going to be in Maryland. My niece is graduating that weekend, so I'm going to be on a plane on Friday, probably like at 5 in the morning, flying off to Maryland. So I'm not going to come back till Sunday or Monday.
Gotcha.
Hey, but if you're going to go over there and hang out with
Then
Maddie,
also
make
don't
sure you do go check out that Dragon Ball Z inspired restaurant they have over there nearby.
Yes, I need to do that. I forgot about that. That's going to be on a list of things to do. Ray, you have something else?
Oh yeah, but also don't forget about Texas Frightmare this month as well. We will be up there, taking video, filming, and arranging, trying to get some interviews as well.
Dividing and
So we'll be up
conquering.
there.
Yeah, if you're in the Dallas area, Texas Frightmare Weekend is a horror convention, and their list is stacked. I mean, they got so many people, so many guests that they've invited. Go to our website at countdowncitygeeks.com to get more information about that. And while you're there, this is the moment some of you have been waiting for. Your chance to win passes to the San Antonio advanced screening of The Little Mermaid starts now. This is absolutely free. All you have to do is sign up with the website. So I'm putting in the link for our site. Then you're going to read instructions, go to the link, sign up on the third party site, and claim your passes. These are free. You need a pass to get in. You need to arrive early. If I were you, I don't take chances. So I would be at this movie 2 hours early. Seats are not guaranteed. So if you have a pass, if you win a pass, you must arrive early because it is first come, first serve. So you can either use the link in the chat right now, or you can go to our website at countdowncitygeeks.com for your chance to win free advanced screening tickets to Disney's live action of The Little Mermaid. Awesome. That was exciting. I didn't actually expect to get tickets today, but they showed up. So that's what we did. Very cool. All right. Now we're going to get to the main topic of the night, the spoiler review of Guardians of the Galaxy
This is where I'm
Volume
going to leave because I ain't
3.
seen the movie yet, man. I'm going to watch it this weekend. And the only reason is because I would have watched it last weekend, but my oldest son, he moved out of the house already because he got a promotion and now he's moved away. Um, and he's going to be flying back into town this weekend. So we waited for him to come back before we could go watch the movie. So unfortunately, I got to wait to see it this weekend. But I've been staying off of social media and everywhere else because I'm not trying to, have somebody ruin it for me.
No, definitely not, man. And this is
Heard
going to
good
be
things about it, though. I heard good
going to be a
things about it.
wild ride. Yeah, absolutely.
Which one of y'all cried? I know some people were saying they shed some tears.
Who didn't? That's the real question. Who didn't?
Yeah.
Who cried for real?
This
Ray,
movie,
who really cried? Did you cry, Ray?
I got emotional. I got emotional. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I was pouring tears, man.
David, you saw it?
My wife had to have
David has
napkins
seen it
and
more
everything.
times than anybody else on the planet. David's seen it 3 times.
Oh, I know. He was over there at the River Center, and they told me get in line. I don't stand in line. You should have said that. You know who I am.
You know who I am?
I'll take a look. I'd have caused the scene, man. Like hell no. You're gonna put me in line with the peasants.
That's hilarious.
Oh man.
General Kenobi, my son cried. You know what? I'm not gonna take my. I mean, my daughter's only 3, but I don't know if I will ever take her to see it because I don't want her to break out into tears. Man, this is a rough film. It is heavy. You're gonna feel it. If you don't feel it, I'm not trying to judge you, but you might not have a soul. Just saying. Um, Joe, let us know when you catch it, man. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, I don't even know if Maddie B's seen this movie either. Legacy
I watched
nerd.
Ted cry twice. It's because I was crying on your shoulder. Let's be
man.
honest here.
I've never seen Teddy cry in no movie, man.
Me and Daniel from Legacy of Nerd were
He's
embracing.
gonna cry in the car. That's what he's gonna do. He's gonna cry in the car.
Me and Daniel were actually embracing while we were crying. It was a
Well,
beautiful
the
moment.
seats are so tiny that you have no like room.
At
You
River
had to like
Center?
hug each other. Yeah.
Yeah, man. The seats at River
I
Center,
warned him.
they are not big boy friendly. I'll tell you that right now.
They're not even little boy friendly. They're just not friendly at all. Like,
Yeah, Ted, you might not want to have that second helping of beer, man.
Matthew says, "I won't ever be made to look like a sissy. Therefore, I can't see this movie because I will cry." I'm not gonna blame you, man. It's
say you
rough.
got some Miller Lite in your eye or something, Maddie.
There you go.
That's all you
Joe,
gotta-
let us know, man. Let us know when you get a chance to check it out, so you can give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll watch it on Saturday. So I'll get with you all after I watch the movie. I'll text everybody to let them know what I thought. And if I cried, I'm probably not gonna cry. I don't cry in movies. Ever. I don't cry at it ever in movies. The only time I almost cried is when somebody farted in one of those premieres that we saw. That brought me to tears. I think somebody had an extra hot dog, bro.
What are the premieres that we saw? So you're saying it was somebody around you, which would be part of the team or our friends? Is that what you're saying?
He who shall not be named. I think somebody had an extra hot dog. That's all I'm saying, dude. Crop dusting. Somebody crop
Legacy-
dusted the whole aisle.
Daniel with the Legacy Nurse says, "I don't think I can have any more kids after sitting at River."
You're not kidding, dude. They need to do something with those seats. I mean, come on, dude. It's an IMAX. Those seats have stayed the same size since that theater was first built. I believe that's the same screen too.
Oh, for sure,
I
100%.
wouldn't doubt that.
There's actually like
Oh yeah, dude. That was like what the first IMAX in Texas, in San Antonio.
probably the U.S. or
It
something. I
smells
don't know.
like it. It smells like it. That carpet's probably original too. I'm like, bro, you went back in time. You know,
Yeah,
you didn't even have
it's-
to go 88 miles an hour. You're already there.
it was rough. I do not like that screen. Luckily, if you are going to join us, if you got tickets, or if you're going to get tickets to the screening of The Little Mermaid, that's actually going to be at Palladium. So I think it's only Marvel movies now that they have at River Center. Little Mermaid is still Disney, but they're moving it to Palladium. So
The real entertainment for me when we go over there to the one over at the River Center is trying to see some big boys fit in those chairs, man. I'm like, I know I'm struggling, man. I want to see somebody else struggle too. I'm like, go ahead, sit down, show me something. And I always hear him say, "Ay." I'm like, yep. Butter the sides up a little bit.
let's get to the main topic of the
Oh,
night. And Joe, give us your thoughts, man, if you get a chance to see it, man. Thanks for joining us.
All right, man. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Peace.
Later.
And if you're still on the live stream with us, thank you for sticking around. Here's where we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This will be a spoiler review. It's actually in the bottom there. So if there's anything that we say that spoils the movie for you, I will apologize, but you've been warned. So here we go. Gentlemen, this is where we just have an opportunity to kind of talk about all the things we liked, all the things we didn't like, um, maybe some references, stuff like that that maybe will come up. But all in all, I'll just kind of give a very brief general summary to kind of get us started. This is a movie about Rocket, and this is a movie about in a lot of ways James Gunn. He actually said writing this movie was like writing a movie for his soul. The rocket raccoon actually being what he's referring to. So people would ask him online, James, is this a movie about you? Kind of, and he says it's a movie about my soul. So maybe there's a little bit of his own personal experiences into the kind of put into this movie. If it is, you really feel it. You really feel the emotion. You really feel just the gravity of what we're seeing. It was intense to say the least, and I love that he's planned this from the beginning. He never called Rocket a raccoon. Rocket always denied being called a raccoon. He always saved the backstory for this movie, and it shows. Um, I love this cast. I talked about it in our non-spoiler review that you see the evolution of their relationship in this movie. Much like maybe you at home kind of relate or converse with your own family, there's arguments, there's fights, there's bickering, there's name calling. They've grown so much together that that's where they're at. That's the point that they are at now, is that everything kind of sets another person off. There's yelling back and forth, and I get it. You kind of live with people long enough, that kind of thing happens. So I love that we keep seeing this evolution of this team. They keep changing. They're not just the same people that we met in the first movie. Things keep changing, and you got to appreciate those kinds of things, those little details in there. I don't want to just take up all the time. So, Dave, let's go around, man. Tell us a few of the things that you really enjoyed, or maybe some things you didn't like. What do you think?
I enjoyed so many things about this film. I don't think there's a lot that I didn't enjoy per se. Um, like we all mentioned, we all saw it at the media screening at the River Center, and I was bracing myself for who's gonna die, who's gonna live. Is James Gunn just gonna kill just about everyone because we all knew he was leaving to DC. He's now the co-CEO of DC Studios. What's gonna happen? We saw a lot of death scenes, but of course, there's spoilers, so no one really died from the main crew, which I'm thoroughly excited about. I want to see a future of the Guardians,
And
even without
surprise.
James Gunn. Yeah, yeah. Um, a lot of emotion. You asked me what my initial thoughts were when we walked out of that screening. I thought it was rough. Going into it, I'm a person that's really heavily invested in the Guardians because in 2014, I can still remember going to watch the Guardians of the Galaxy, the original film, in theaters. I saw it in, I want to say maybe it was the IMAX at Barton Creek in Austin. But I remember taking my family, and all my family enjoyed it. They loved it. We had the CD of the Awesome Mix, Volume 1, and we listened to it in the car on the way up there and on the way back down. The music was fantastic, as is all Guardians uh, films have a great score plus the actual soundtrack. And James Gunn, I think, knocked it out of the park again with this Awesome Mix 3. But yeah, the chemistry is just awesome. Um, Ted, you said it when we were walking out that this was an exhausting type of movie. Everyone was running; it was on the go. There was 2.5 hours of film time that we had to actually get the story through. I think there was a little, not that much fat in the film. It's very lean, but action packed, heavy on emotion, a lot of stuff on screen. The screen was jam packed full of stuff, and we saw it in IMAX. Um, the story arcs, every major character had something to do. And I think, I mean, I can't think of a better way to end this era of the Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn killed it. A lot of people are putting this film up there in top 5, even top 3 MCU films. But I mean, it could be possible prisoner of the moment type stuff. But I've seen it 3 times, like you pointed out. Each time I saw it, it got better and better. The movie went by faster and faster. The connective tissue, I loved all that stuff. You can go back to Guardians 1 and see when they're in the lineup with the team, and Quill like shoots the finger, and you can see all like the vital stats of every character. You see Rocket's name of 89P13 on the screen, and below it says associates, and it says Groot, comma Lila in there. So, like you said, James Gunn has been planning this stuff from the beginning, and James Gunn said that the reason why he took on Guardians of the Galaxy, because we all knew that it wasn't a marquee franchise, marquee characters. He thought about a walking, talking raccoon, and he thought how silly that was, possibly, potentially, and thought about maybe Bugs Bunny running around in the Avengers. And he said the thing that spoke to him was the only way that this will work is if Rocket is the saddest character in the MCU. And with this last movie of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is essentially Rocket's origin story, he is the saddest creature in the galaxy. And I knew going into this that people were saying, you're going to cry, you're going to cry. And I kept on telling myself, don't do it, don't cry. My eyes did water towards the end. I didn't have tears rolling, but I very well could have, because of what this franchise means to me. You guys didn't know me then, but when I found out about this movie being made, the casting of Chris Pratt, I knew him from Community. I knew he was a funny guy. It felt like they were bringing on this ensemble cast that was going to be not the MCU's first flop, but it was going to be something really special. And it worked. It made $94 million that opening weekend in August. And I was just so happy. The story alone, it's about a bunch of misfits and rogues, and it speaks to me. I think it speaks to a lot of fans, a lot of nerds. And it's that first film to me. I put it up there with all the great films that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I put it up there with like Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings and the Matrix and Mad Max Fury Road. To me, it is up there. And now I'm just trying to figure out where Volume 3 sits. I almost saw it again on Tuesday. In my town, they have like a $4 Tuesday. And I was thinking, man, I kind of want to see it. But I think that we had maybe a podcast scheduled, but then we bumped it, I think.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, I can't say enough. I mean, the soundtrack, the opening song, Creep, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. They did it acoustic. The way it started
So
out,
good.
the introduction of a classic comic book character in Adam Warlock. You asked what I didn't like so much about it. I still liked Adam Warlock, even though he's getting a little bit of hate online about how kind of childlike he was. And he was so different from what the comic book version of Adam Warlock is. So I think maybe other than that, which is like a tiny nitpick, from top to bottom, the arcs of all the characters, the acting, the chemistry. Batista was awesome once again as Drax. Mantis came to play. Her character grew, and she had more physical abilities in this movie. She was like kicking a lot of ass, and that was awesome to see. And a lot of comedic parts when she would touch. I love that scene where she touched that security guy and said, "You're madly in love with Drax," and then you can that character actor did such a great job conveying how deeply in love secretly in love he was with Drax the Destroyer, and how Drax like acted. He was like, "You do this all the time," and he found out that Mantis had actually done this in the past, and how she made that one guy dance, and then the next girl in that battle, or that woman, like have like furious rage,
Violent rage.
violent rage. And yeah, it was her skill set, her powers are very interesting. and I think Gunn made the most of her power set, and she's pretty powerful. I mean, in the right settings. I mean, we all saw what you did to Thanos. They almost got the glove off of him. Using without Mantis, it would have been impossible.
Sure.
And Cosmo was awesome too. I love that they got that actress to voice Cosmo, and her voice acting was terrific.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
And yeah, just the concept of Cosmo the space dog, wearing the CCCP on the side, the Russian space dog. I love that fact. And then I mean, I think we all kind of assumed that Howard the Duck was going to show up, and then we all saw Seth Green on the red carpet. So he's another one of the inner circle James Gunn guys. But yeah, the soundtrack, um, seeing Groot, I mean, it had everything. I mean, the violence, it had gore, the first MCU F bomb. Um, we got to hear Groot say a few different words, even though that James Gunn actually did come back and say that he said I am Groot, but it was the audience finally understanding what Groot was saying, and we heard what he said at the end, which is essentially I love you guys, and I think that was like a perfect ending for the James Gunn Guardians era, and we all got at the end the last bit of messaging was the legendary Star-Lord will return. So he's back on Earth. So I mean, Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars, I think he's primed to show up in that. But
Agreed.
I would love it to see the new Guardians team show up in something, and maybe even a new movie down the road. So if Bradley Cooper's game for it, I would love to see him back. I know Vin Diesel would come back, but it's the Guardians is a very, very close franchise to me, and it's the end of an era, and I'm glad that I was invited to go to the media screening of this, and it was something I'll probably remember for the rest of my life.
I'm glad you were there, sir. Glad you were there. We can all tell it really meant a lot to you, man. So I'm glad you were with us there. Before we get to Ray, Jason's visiting from Singapore. Greetings. Sup, guys? What's going on, Jason? Welcome, sir. Welcome. Just
Nice profile
talking.
picture.
Just talking Guardians right now. General Kenobi says there was also fleshy space tech. I guess that's what he really liked. I suppose. He also says, I thought the saddest character was Cosmo. She just wanted to be accepted and called a good dog. Yeah, I think what Dave means is like Rocket was the saddest character across all movies, right? All three
Yeah,
movies.
yeah. Well, the saddest creature. I mean, he got experimented on, kind of torn apart. I mean, even Nebula said that the surgery that was done on Rocket was worse than what Thanos did to her, and Nebula
That's
got
saying a
taken
lot.
apart. Yeah.
Let's see here. General Kenobi also says, yeah, the music was great this time. Part 2 was very mild. I can't remember like the big song from the second one.
Fleetwood Mac.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Star-Lord Fokker says it was so awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome, Star-Lord. All right, Ray, give us your thoughts, man. What really stuck out to you? You know, what did you really like? What did you not really like? And spoilers away. Go for it, sir.
I mean, Dave hit it on the nail on the head. You know, it's basically James Gunn made you think Guardians was going to be about Star Lord, and when you saw the first one, part two, because you know you're introduced to Dad, and then it at the end of the whole movie, it's all about Rocket. You know, and you really think about it. You look back. You know, you look at how Rocket, how he had that anger in the other two movies. You know how he didn't want to be called a raccoon or rodent or squirrel. You know, and you could see the pain he had when he would be, little things he was doing in the movie. But at the end of the day, when you see his backstory and throughout the whole movie, all he was wanting was a family, and of course, his first original friends were, the characters, of course, we see in the movie. Um, and at the end of it, you know, the family, what they went through to keep him alive, they went through almost hell on earth to basically try to save him. Of course, in the movie, you're thinking he's the one that's going to die because throughout half of the movie, he's on a freaking table, you know. But the way James Gunn hit everything, the fight scenes, um, the little Easter eggs, at the end where Rocket has the jetpack and he's, jumping in the air. Man, it just everything that James Gunn hit was just perfect. I may get flack for it or whatever, but like I said, there's got people who hate Gunn, people who like Gunn, but for me, his writing is phenomenal when he puts it together. He makes you like these characters, he makes you love them, you know, even the one character, Star Lord's sister, that character really grew on me, you know, to me with her powers that she has, like David said, she just lays her hands on you and says one thing and you pretty much do what she says. That part of the fight scene right there was hilarious, like David said. But the one that I love the most was a fight scene where the Beastie Boys starts playing and it starts going in slow-mo. That was my favorite part. It was just like, seeing them each and every one of them fighting and doing what they were doing, blasting the heads and everything. It was just so much to take in, so much to enjoy.
Another great hallway scene.
Like I said, yeah, another great hallway scene.
One of the best.
Example, yeah. Yeah, like I said, and at the end, he leaves you wanting more, and knowing that you're not going to get another one, but it does leave you with, legendary Star-Lord coming back. It's going to be interesting, mind you. Don't put it past, he may not be involved, but I guarantee you we will see them, in the next phase when we get the final, was it phase 6?
Yeah, for sure.
Secret Wars, I think it is. So I think we'll see them then, but of course it won't be James Gunn writing it, but I'm pretty sure we'll see them back again.
Yeah, I think so. We might see a few members of this new team, but kind of like Dave said, I think Star Lord is the only one you could probably for sure count on, and everybody else is sort of just on the fence, which is fine. We've gotten not only these 3 films, but Infinity War, Endgame with these characters. So like I feel like we've spent a good quality amount of time with them all. I too also love the hallway scene. Glad that we got a chance to see it twice. Um, every single character I talked about it a little on our non-spoiler view, but every single one of these characters, man, they were given so much to do. It wasn't just one person or a few people that were really kind of pushing the story and pushing the arc forward. It was a really solid ensemble piece, kind of the way we look at Infinity War, how they kind of juggled all those characters at once. This was as masterful as that, like giving every single one of these characters just the opportunity to show their range, show their emotion, give us something different. Like this was the third Guardians film, but this was also the most different Guardians film because everybody was doing something, drastically different. Mantis is like screaming and cursing nonstop. Gamora's in like the worst mood that you've ever seen her from start to finish. She was always in a bad mood before, but she was quiet about it. This way, completely different. She was more of a raging drunk throughout the movie.
Ravager.
A ravager, absolutely. I too also I don't care about Adam Warlock enough to really get bent out of shape about how they used him, but just based on what I know of the character, yes, this was more of a throwaway. They didn't give him anything to do when he lost his mom. It wasn't really as impactful emotionally as I think they wanted it to be. Plus, like everything else they were doing emotionally or just trying to convey emotionally were hitting way harder, so you don't get to feel it as much. So they try to do a little bit with Adam, but in the end, the only reason why he's here is because he saves Star Lord. He saves Star Lord, at the end. Nobody else could do it. And I also maybe want to give James Gunn a little flack, like, hey, stop it. Like, by that point, we were done with the emotional roller coaster. You didn't have to psych us out a fifth time or however many that was. Like, that one was almost mean. It was almost mean doing it like one more time
Well, I mean,
with Star-Lord.
it made you think he was going to blow up when you start seeing his face starting to
Jesus.
expand and when
Yeah.
he's
I was
getting
just like,
cold.
oh
It's
my
like,
God.
dude,
It's horrifying.
It is, absolutely. Star-Lord Fokker says there were many emotions from tears to laughter and even graphic centurions guard things. My son had his mother take him out of the movie because it's too much for him to take in. I completely see that happening. I don't think you should take small children to this. This kind of feels like he was in he's not gonna say this, and I'm not getting this from anywhere, but this sort of gave me very much Toy Story 1 vibes. Seeing Sid's sort of creations in his room, these characters, Rocket's friends from the past, were like all these either broken or dismantled toys. And yeah, they were kind of scary at first, but you kind of got to meet them a little bit. But if you had seen those Sid's toys like get incinerated or blown up later on, like that would have been too heavy for kids to kind of feel out. So I don't that was the first thing I thought of, like, oh, these are like Sid's toys from Toy Story, but you just gave them so much character. It's almost annoying how invested James Gunn can have us with robotic walking, talking animals. Like, stop, James. Like, we get it. You're talented. You're making us look silly that we're getting so emotional over a dead walrus. When was I ever going to be sad about a dead robotic walrus? Like, I seriously was never going to think that was going to be a thing, but it absolutely was. It really was.
Yeah,
Um,
Linda Cardellini knocked it out as Lila. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
she is an awesome voice actress now. And yeah, it just tugs so hard. And essentially I think it's safe to say maybe Rocket's like love interest. He fell in love with her, you know? I mean, I think they could have gone a long way together. But I also want to point out that James Gunn stayed away from the whole cliche of Gamora and Star Lord could have ended up off screen getting together. James Gunn wrote and directed this film, and he wrote it in a way where he made it harder on himself to keep Gamora still out of the team of the Guardians, but somehow bring her back into the team. And I just love
yeah.
the ending of they don't get together. I mean, sometimes it's just like life. I mean, it doesn't work out sometimes between people, and they went their separate ways, and it works. I mean, on the level of wanting because I know that Zoe Saldana doesn't. I don't think she wants to come back to Gamora. I think she said she's done. I think Batista said he's done. So I think there was a few characters in there that said that they don't want to. They don't really think about coming back to Guardians. But I mean, Gunn, he did a masterful job in crafting these arcs and interweaving the music into all these specific spots and bringing the original team back together and us getting that one last ride. It was a masterful job.
Legacy Nerd says, we also got a Ninja Turtle. And then Star Lord says, LOL, there were two turtles, first Razor and second Leo. Legacy also says, Drax died twice, Rocket once, Star Lord once, and Mantis kept falling so horribly.
That's an awesome point. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I freaking love the running gags throughout
Yeah.
this film.
Yeah.
James can, he can make me sob in a corner, or his humor is just so in line with where my humor's at. And maybe I don't even know why, but every single running gag in here, from Mantis falling like always on her head, like, every time she landed, concussion. Scorpion. Or the other one that really got me was with Nathan Fillion and
Yeah.
Star Lord's just like, oh, you got a guy that kind of what were you saying? Boss's
Boss's
nephew,
nephew. Yeah.
not all there. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
one of those too. And then Nathan Fillion said it's like somebody else.
Yeah. To
I was dying, man.
Aisha with Adam Warlock. He's like, yeah, I got one of those too.
Yeah. That was freaking hilarious.
Oh my god, James! It's stupid how talented Gunn is as a writer, as a storyteller. Um, he doesn't ever not want to give you. I'm trying to use a metaphor here. The full meal, your appetizer, your main course, your dessert. You're gonna get everything. Like
Second breakfast.
every. What about second breakfast? Gunn's gonna give you every single thing in every single movie. You might not have as much investment in the characters for the next one. It might be not as emotional in the next movie that he makes, but there's going to be a certain level of it because he knows to put it in. He knows how to incorporate those type of feelings in all his movies. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
Yondu coming back, man.
damn
Giving
it! Damn it!
Oh,
Kraglin
yeah,
that
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 one glimpse
one little
scene.
piece of motivation that he could do it. And then Cosmo has to get involved. And then Kraglin calls her a good dog. And yeah. It all worked, man. He found
Every
all the right pieces
everything,
to put together.
everything.
You know,
He
the thing
cracked
is, I
the
wonder
code.
where he gets the music. You know what I mean?
I'm assuming it's
It's
what
all
he
his.
grew up with. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all his picks. And I know for a fact, I heard Palm Clemente say in an interview that when they got handed the script, the music was already there on the page. With each track, the artist, everything was there at each part of the film. So they can listen to it and they can vibe to it, read the script, and it's all work. He's a man with a plan, and I think a lot of film studios can learn from that. He's
It's
got a
I
plan
don't
from the beginning.
you can't teach that though. That comes
Yeah, you
from
can't, man.
decades of being devoted fans of both film and music. And it's really hard to find somebody who's that devoted to both. Like, yeah, everybody likes music or everybody loves music, but are you willing to like listen to it nonstop 24/7 or like learn to read it or learn to play it. I'm sure Gunn has tried to learn or he plays some sort of instrument because he loves music that much. I grew up with a boombox recording songs off the radio because I was born in the 80s and that's how you
Same
got
here.
to, get all the music that you want onto one tape. We didn't have mixed. You had soundtracks, movie soundtracks, but you didn't have mixed CDs or stuff like that. You couldn't download music onto your phone when I was, we were growing up. So
We didn't have Zunes.
I totally get it. Didn't have Zunes until much later. So
Yeah.
I totally get it. I was up till midnight on a school night waiting for one song to play that I wanted on my tape and would record it as soon as it came on. Just sitting idly by the boombox and learned to play music a lot later and stuff. Yeah, he even said in an interview or maybe it was online, I think it was on Twitter, that he always knew Florence and the Machine's Dog Days Are Over. That song was always going to be kind of the final piece or in the final scene, and it is a closer. I've seen Florence twice in concert.
Oh wow.
If you don't know who she is very much like the David Bowie of our generation, I would say. She's
Really?
very
Wow.
artistic,
Got a strong voice.
strong voice, which has improved over the years. Like it started off. This is not a knock on her. Like her mediocre days are better than most, but she really like just improved over the years. She got better and better with age.
Yeah. She
But
released a TikTok of her in the in the theater watching that end scene.
Watching
I
it.
think someone's recording her watching it, and yeah, I mean, can you imagine that having your song at the end of one of these huge films, and it's just the end of that era and a trilogy, and everyone's dancing to it, enjoying it, and it's all over TikTok now. I mean, everyone, even I think you can almost watch the full film on TikTok. I mean, so many people have recorded certain sequences, but I mean, it's incredible.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be another one of those Kate Bush moments where like that song's going to blow up everywhere. It's going to go back on the top 10 of the charts. That song, I mean, I don't know what it had before, but it's already up to 680 million plays on Spotify. Probably 100 million of those were just in the last week. I would not think I wouldn't bet that anything else happened otherwise. Anywho, let's see what else. What else? Yeah, okay. So here's something to think about, and I think Dave's gonna figure this out eventually. The great mystery of humanity is what was James Gunn's final Easter egg from the original Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The mystery lives on because James has said nobody has figured out what that
Yeah.
initial Easter egg was. And then here's something else to think about. He also claims one of those big Easter eggs is also in this film, and nobody's seen it or called it out just yet. So you might have to go see it a fourth time, Lozano, just so you can figure out what that major Easter egg is.
I'll probably see it again maybe on Tuesday when it's like a $4 night and there's hardly anyone hopefully going to be in that theater. Because when I went to go see it in my hometown, there's maybe like 20 people. I sat dead center, and it's actually the best movie experience out of all three experiences because I was right in the middle. The screen, they renovated my local theater, so the screens are all new, seats are all new. Um, so yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, I love Easter eggs so much. And I love the fact that James Gunn has put all these Easter eggs in, and the fact that he has called out the internet, everyone, that no one's found that last remaining Easter egg in the first film.
Can I say what I thought it was? And I don't know if this has been disproven, but I always thought the Easter egg was the fact that the final battle scene in that first movie was like a 3D or a live action version of Galaga. So in Galaga, you are a ship that's sort of on the ground level,
Right.
shooting up, while these alien spaceships are doing like kamikaze dives at you, and that's exactly what happened in that final battle scene.
Mhm.
All of the I forget what they're called. All the ships are just pointed up. They're kind of shooting upwards, and then eventually, not Conan the Barbarian, but what's his name? The bad guy was just like, send in the drops or whatever he said, and they
Yeah,
all
Ronan the
and
Accuser.
Ronan, he all of the ships are doing like these kamikaze dives, and they were shooting up at him, and so I'm just like, oh, it's just like Galaga, which has been a running thing in the MCU ever since Avengers. That
Mhm.
man is playing Galaga.
Yeah.
You thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. So if it ever comes out that the big Easter egg in the first Guardians is Galaga, I want some sort of credit here, folks. All right. Anyways,
Well, just if you tweet James Gunn, he'll respond to you.
I've
He responds
tried.
to everyone. Oh,
I
really?
believe you. I
Oh,
believe you. I've tried because I want to just kind of get a hint, and that's probably where I'm screwing up. I'm like, hey, is the Easter egg about a retro arcade game? Because I don't want to say it, and then he doesn't see it, and then somebody else
yeah.
picks it up. I don't know.
Well,
I'm an idiot like that. I overthink things.
we all know that James Gunn famously will tweet and he will respond to people. So I don't think I've told you guys this, but I had an argument with James Gunn online on Facebook. He made a post about remakes in Hollywood, and he was listing all the remakes. He listed like Wizard. He's like everything's gonna be remade eventually. I think that's what I think I'm paraphrasing here, but he listed like Wizard of Oz was a remake. This was a remake. That was a remake, and then he got down to the Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson was a remake, and I was thinking, no, it's not. I was like, who made that first? His reference was the Ralph Bakshi films. So that's what he was considering the first Lord of the Rings creation.
Kind of, I can see it.
And I said,
were those
no, I don't think
animated?
so. It was
Yeah,
rotoscope.
the
Yeah,
animated.
like half animated, and they used actors and like 70% of that animation to rotoscope them and to color over them. So, and I told him, yeah, I was like, I don't think you're right, James. And he's like, well, 70% of it is a remake. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really count. So we went back and forth, and I was like, who's this guy arguing with me? I'm a fan. I'm paying my hard-earned money. He's trying to prove me wrong. But yeah, I kind of got over it. But yeah, James Gunn is a tremendous talent. It sucks that the MCU is losing him. And I don't want to say they're losing him to the competition, because I think all rising tides raise all ships. I think if DC does well, it's good for all the comic book industry and vice versa.
Amen.
And James Gunn is still friends with Kevin Feige, so we might have behind the scenes them communicating with each other and kind of like game planning and strategizing for what they plan on doing. And I thought that James Gunn would have been a great person to head up the DC universe, and now it's happened. He's the creative CEO, and everything is going to go through him. And I think if he knocks Superman out of the park, I think the rest is going to be smooth sailing, because you get Superman right, you get the entire planet on board with his version, his view, his vision. I think the DC is going to go to heights that we haven't seen since Christopher Reeve's 78 Superman. So I'm hoping for the best.
So I got a question. So he does respond to you on that you're talking about, because back when Guardians 2 came out, Freddie Lopez did a piece with Yandu. He's an artist from San Antonio. And I shared that piece to James Gunn, and he actually retweeted that piece that he did. It's like Yandu sitting in the plane, and he has all the little trinkets on the dash.
Yeah.
And yeah, he retweeted that, and I actually took a snap photo, sent it to the artist who actually drew it. But yeah, I was shocked that he actually responds occasionally to people.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised. I was like, one thing that kind of gets me is I'm kind of interested what kind of soundtrack he's going to give us for Superman.
You think he'll go all out like that?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard, because I mean, is he gonna? Because you got to use, and that's going to be the thing. Do you use the original? Because everybody's used the original soundtrack, not soundtrack, but the theme.
Yeah, the John Williams
form
theme. Yeah, that's iconic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, is he going to do that as well, or is he going to tweak it up, or is he going to go with a little bit? And that's the thing too. Like, what timeline is Superman going to take place? Is it going to take place in the 80s, current? So it leaves a lot of open windows for that.
I think the only thing we know kind of for sure is that Clark is going to be either late teens, early 20s. I think he's leaning a little bit more towards early 20s. But people, for those who said like Chris Pratt's going to be the new Superman, no. I think Pratt's already aged out of that.
Yeah, James Gunn said as much. He said he was like 10 years younger than maybe. But I've heard a lot of like, I think we've all heard the whole Austin Butler rumor of him maybe being Superman. To me, he's a little slight to be Superman, and we're going to see him in Dune too, as Fade Rotha. But yeah, I'm not quite sure who can fill those shoes, and it's going to have the right physique. I mean, Will Poulter right now has the physique, but he's got Jimmy Olsen's face, it feels like. So, but yeah, that's a great call by Legacy and Nerd for Jimmy Olsen casting Will Poulter.
Absolutely.
Well, what about Cap? I mean, Chris Evans, when he first was for the role for Cap, when he was in Fantastic Four, he wasn't that built, but then he got ripped for Cap.
True. I really don't think anyone can do it, even though like we see time and time again, like Kumail Nanjiani has done it. He's like freaking swole.
Yeah.
we'll just see though. I like to see Chris Evans do whatever happened with Chris Evans just going to be a director moving forward. Wasn't that a thing where he said like I'm gonna take a back seat from acting and be more in the director's chair? And he had a movie come out not too long ago.
Yeah, Lightyear,
Yeah.
and
Oh no,
he also has
he
that
had
project with Anna
Anna de
Darmus as
Armas,
well. Yeah,
which I need to watch. I heard it was actually pretty good.
That one's fun. That one's fun. You'll like it.
Yeah, Ray told me that. Ray told me that was a pretty decent flick. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Well, gentlemen, any sort of final thoughts on Guardians? Either something you really liked, something you didn't like. Ray, anything, man?
No, man. I mean, everything was to me was perfect. I couldn't. I don't have any complaints. I may get flack for that because everybody has their hates and
go
stuff.
through the flag.
For me, it was perfect.
I
Yeah, right.
I'll go back to saying that this movie, it didn't waste any time. I feel like 3 minutes in, the plot started going. And so for the movie to go 2.5 hours or, close to that afterwards, and you're just so invested in everything. It's it's a very comic book slash space opera of a movie. But damn, it's so entertaining from start to finish. And he did things that I didn't see coming. Nowhere becoming some sort of like a battle station,
Mhm.
flying through the galaxy, taking on the ship of can't high evolutionary. Didn't see that coming, and I thought like freaking brilliant, man. So damn cool. Just giving everybody their time to shine. We talked about that just all across the board. Even Kraglin, like we talked about, even he got his time to shine. Oh man,
I think
just
everyone from Peacemaker was in this film except for John Cena. I think even we saw Eagly in a cage.
okay. I read that. I don't know where he was, but I read that online.
Towards the end scene where we see Rocket get out most of the kids, and then he takes that long view down the hallway and he sees the cages, and we see Eagly in the bottom right.
Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing. Um, damn, just so damn cool. James
yeah.
Gunn can just do anything.
It's a great wrap up to the trilogy. James Gunn totally dropped the mic and left to DC, and I hope whoever fills his shoes, if we ever do get another Guardians of the Galaxy film, stays in the same tone, the same vein, same type of jokes, and I don't know if that's even possible, but same chemistry with those characters, and hopefully we get Rocket back in a future Avengers or some cosmic film that maybe ties into X-Men. I mean, we have I believe it's a Shi'ar Empire, the Starjammers, and all those guys. So that'd be cool to see
True.
them come back around and get to see Rocket once again. Hopefully, Bradley Cooper does it. But we all do know that there is that respeecher technology that Lucasfilm uses. So Bradley Cooper doesn't necessarily have to be there probably in the future when they finally do maybe bring him back. So it was an awesome finale. An awesome 10 years. I'm so glad that I got to experience that between all the films, Infinity War, Thor, Love and Thunder, even Endgame.
Yeah, you're right.
They were interweaved just like the music, just like the soundtrack, just perfectly interweaved throughout the massive interconnected MCU storyline. It's just brilliant and the stuff of my dreams when I was a kid. So I'm glad I got to live to see it.
Legacy Nerd in the chat
Yep.
saying, "Did anyone see a supremacist dragon anywhere?" Unfortunately, no, we did not. That's a Peacemaker reference.
Oh, yeah.
There he goes. He got it now.
I didn't see a T-1000 anywhere. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. You know what? I actually wanted to bring up the afterlife scene because man, if James didn't get me on that one too, because
Yep.
Rocket is seeing his friends, and he says, "Can I come?" And like, ugh, ugh, already hit me in the gut there.
And then she said it perfectly. Yes.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
not
oh,
yet. It's perfect. It is. It's kind of like boxing. You've already knocked us out, James, with your writing, but you're still punching. Like there's no referee to stop the fight. Like
throw him in the damn towel.
you already got us, and now you're just kicking us while we're down. And this isn't a slight or a criticism, but I feel like this has to have been done before. I vaguely remember seeing something very similar.
Harry
uh,
Potter.
Was it Harry Potter?
Yeah,
Okay.
when Harry Potter sees Dumbledore in the afterlife, it looks almost the same.
There you go. I want to say yes. Harry Potter, I think, was one of them. I just couldn't remember exactly how it went down, and then I feel like there's also maybe something else that might have happened as well.
That
Kind of
walrus
in the
waving
same,
too, like, oh man, that killed me.
and I mean like in the same manner where like, yeah, you can come, but not just yet, and then he gets kind of thrown back into his body. I feel like it's been done a couple of times before.
Yeah,
Not to
yeah.
say that he's copying. It's just it's such a
I would say it's a
solid
trope.
execution.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I loved it. And had he gone, wouldn't have blamed him for it. If that was the end of Rocket, would not have blamed him at all.
And it
Just
works perfectly because he came
masterful.
back and he's back with Groot, back with the Guardians. I mean, I mean, Groot's like his son.
Yeah.
When he disappeared, when Rocket got, or not Rocket, but Groot got snapped, the "I am Groot" via James Gunn was I'm paraphrasing, but like
He
he
called
said,
out to him and said, "Father."
yes, yes, he called him his dad. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, Groot sees Rocket as his dad. So that's another thing. Yeah. And then you pointed it out, Teddy. You didn't point it out here in the podcast, but at the very end, Drax's story wrapped up. Nebula, who was just dissing Drax the whole movie, came out and said, "You weren't meant to be a destroyer. You were meant to be a dad." And that's
That's the
another
one
one,
that
man.
That's the one that got me. That's the one that got I was strong. I was staying strong. I was like, "Nah, you're not gonna get me, James." And then when that one came out, oh man, that one killed me. Because you go back. This dude, he lost his family. He had a daughter. He talked about her in this movie, and it was never a fully fleshed out arc. Maybe it should have been. I think Dave Bautista talked about how he always wanted to keep exploring that layer of Drax. And so yeah, having it all wrapped up, dear God, like how do you wrap up like a dozen characters in
He did
one
it.
movie? I don't understand
It
how
was
anybody's
done.
that good. It was done by Gunn. Final
Gun.
question.
One simple price.
Final question, and then we will. I I said I was going to do one more thing. Maybe I'll run through it. Final question is, where does the Guardians trilogy? This is actually something that Dave asked. Where does the Guardians trilogy stand on your all-time MCU list of trilogies? If we're looking at the solo trilogies, you got Iron Man, you got Thor, you got Captain America. Let's go ahead and throw Spider-Man in there, and then you got Guardians, Black Panther. Oh, and you got Ant-Man. Ant-Man has a trilogy as well. Guardians. I will preface this by saying Winter Soldier is still my favorite MCU movie. I don't think that's ever going to change. Um, I would probably have Captain America as my second trilogy overall because Spider-Man No Way Home is so strong, but I really hated that first movie. So that's probably third
The
on
heck?
my.
You
Huh?
hated Homecoming?
Yeah, it was so lame. It's just no point to it whatsoever.
Killing me, Ted.
No point to it. We'll talk about it later. I think Guardians sits on top of my list. I think Guardians is number one. I put Cap at number two. His
Can you maybe
trilogy,
do an Avengers trilogy with the first Avengers, Infinity, Endgame?
it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's almost not fair to have Cap in there because Civil War was a Avengers type movie, but
Yeah.
I would still put Cap as 2. I would put what did I say? I put Spider-Man his trilogy as 3, and then I would probably put Iron Man, Ant-Man, then Thor. I really really like Ragnarok, but the first movie was mediocre, and the second movie was kind of the bottom of the MCU barrel. So Thor unfortunately gets to the bottom of my trilogy list.
Mm.
That's how I would do that. Lozano, do you have a list of your 6 trilogies?
It's splitting hairs, man. I mean, I love Spider-Man. I love the Homecoming, the Home trilogy, how that ended, how that wrapped up in No Way Home. An all-time film. That's another one of those films that I think it's up there in the pantheon of great films of my life. But yeah, critically, I think Captain America might be the number one trilogy because of First Avenger, Winter Soldier, which is at the top of a lot of people's lists, and then you have Civil War, which is essentially an Avengers movie. It's hard to top that one, but Guardians has a special place in my soul. Really, that first film, just nothing like it. The music, the chemistry, the fact that there's no name characters, no name cast, other than Zoe Saldana, who did Avatar, um, taking the risk with Batista as Drax, and the risk on James Gunn too. He hadn't done anything big. I mean, he did like Super, and I'm blanking out on all the other films he's done. And he wrote Dawn of the Dead for Zack Snyder. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's splitting hairs, man. I mean, I watch the movies that I revisit are Homecoming, No Way Home, Infinity War, Endgame, the first Iron Man, Civil War, Guardians, of course. So yeah, I mean, it's tough for me. I love the fact, and it's been 32 films. We have 32 films, guys. Can you imagine going back in time and tapping yourself on the shoulder, hey, you're gonna get 32 live action Marvel films? They're gonna be like, no way. There's only 6 Star Wars films. How are we gonna have 32 Marvel films? You know?
9. Well, I mean, 9 Star Wars, right? Episodic films.
Well, 6 back then.
Oh, 6 back then. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. After 2005, but
Yeah.
and really 3 because we had 3 for a long time only. We're kids of the 80s, so. Yeah, 30. It's a 30-second MCU film, guys.
Across
32 films.
15 years. Seems like there should be more. Had the pandemic not happened, we'd probably be up to 40 already.
Yep.
Something like that.
And that's not even mentioning the TV shows.
Is it? I think it is mentioned in the TV shows.
I don't think so.
Not?
It's 32 films.
Okay.
I think so.
I'll trust you. I'll trust you.
Yeah, because you got Shield. You got Shield.
Well, no,
Carter,
I don't think Shield
and
Carter
then
counts. But you're right. If we go back,
Daredevil, Defenders,
if we
Jessica
count
Jones.
Marvel TV, yeah, there's another like 6 or 7 in there. Ray, what does your trilogy list look like? 1 through 6.
Well, I'm not gonna say trilogy. If I'm gonna give you my top 6 movies, I'm gonna go, of course, with Iron Man because that was what started it off. Because if Iron Man hadn't done as well as it did, I don't think we would have gotten the rest of these movies. So Iron Man for sure, No Way Home, Civil War, Endgame, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Those would be my one more. Guardian of the Galaxy 1.
There you go.
So yeah, so my 6. Those will be my 6. Because story wise, like I said, if Iron Man didn't do the way it did in the box office when it came out, Jon Favreau wouldn't be where he's at right now. If it wasn't for Favreau, we wouldn't have the MCU universe. We wouldn't have the Star Wars universe currently right now with Favreau and Filoni. Without those two guys, the love for the geekdom that they have, that's where we're at right now. That's why we're here having Mandalorian and all these movies.
Absolutely. I agree. Star-Lord in the chat drops his trilogy list, starting with Guardians, Captain America, Iron Man. I could see that. I could see that. Spider-Man. So he swapped the ones that I had, but it's totally cool. Ant-Man, and then last Thor. Apologies to Chris Hemsworth, but yeah. It's not to say that his trilogy is bad. It's just compared to the others. I mean, look at what we got. Um,
Yeah.
awesome. If you're watching this at a later time, or if you're listening to us on the podcast version of this episode, we want to hear from you guys. What are your favorite moments from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? What really worked for you? What didn't work for you? We want to hear from y'all. So go ahead and drop your thoughts or your comments in the chat, or you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowncitygeeks.com. Um, I can't get behind on this final topic. I know we've been going a while, and I know you guys probably don't watch this. Just referring to you two gentlemen, but I have to do it because it would feel disingenuous to not. So the Flash series is ending after 9 seasons. We are now 2 episodes into the final 4-part finale for the series. So these episodes are called A New World. Episode 10 was last week. Episode 11 was tonight. Episode 12 will be next week, and episode 13 will be in 2 weeks. Um, I have to talk about this show because it's one of the shows that we sort of started with. We started this show 8 years ago, and this show was already a season into it. So we grew up. This show started talking about CW shows first. We had Arrow. We talked about the Flash, and it was great. Flash, those first early seasons, must see television. If I mean, you want to talk about emotion and investment in characters, Flash was the blueprint. Like season 2, oh my god, just gnarly stuff. I mean, I was a wreck, emotional wreck, watching some of the episodes of the Flash in the second season. So good. And now they're wrapping everything up. So just kind of quickly, episode 10, which was last week, is all about this new antagonist sending Barry into the past. He actually arrives on the date his mother dies. And so we know that story very well. This is actually one of the things I've been waiting for to see is how did the original Flash, if you saw the opening season or the first episode, how did the original Flash? What did he do to get there to stop Thawne, and then where did he go afterwards? That was always a mystery. We saw multiple Barry Allens come and go in that moment. Multiple Barrys, variants of Barrys have visited that moment in time, but where did the original one go? We find out this is the original Barry who doesn't try and stop Reverse Flash from killing his mom, allows it to happen because he knows the ramifications if it doesn't. But he always saves himself, takes his young Barry, his young self, outside, and then he actually runs back into Reverse Flash before fleeing that time period. So just great stuff. Absolutely loved it. And then the episode ends with Eddie Thawne making a comeback, and actually getting hit with a bolt of lightning during a lightning storm, and apparently getting the powers of the Flash. So a character from the first season now coming back in these final episodes. Eddie Thawne comes back in tonight's episode. So spoilers if you haven't seen episode, what is this, 11? But New World Part 2. Eddie heads to CCPD for answers because this isn't Eddie, but it also might be Eddie. He's having flashbacks. He's having memory flashbacks of this alternate life that he doesn't know. So he gets the idea of going to CCPD to find answers. And there's this voice or this presence telling him to find her, find her. Don't know what that is. Starlab team is scrambling. I said Barry got sent back to the past. Well, they haven't seen him for a while now. So they've been scrambling, trying to find a way to figure out where he's gone. And they are also now being attacked by this dark entity, which is some sort of entity of the negative speed force. Yes, kids, that's where we're at. The personification of not only the speed force, but the negative speed force. Those people are at odds. Um, let's see here. Let's see here. Keone is now uh, so powerful. She's able to help alleviate the possessed friends of hers that are trying to kill the rest of the team that are being taken over by this negative speed force. And then Barry actually shows up towards the end of the episode after all this time, not knowing where they were. Iris West is about to go into labor with her own little Nora. And the episode ends with actually Barry getting lost again. Where he goes, we have no idea. But 2 more episodes are left of the Flash series, and Grant Gustin, man, just perfect actor for this role. He's killed it. Everybody's loved this guy since the beginning, and I can't wait to see how it ends. Um, they've been doing a great job of doing callbacks to the original season, the first season. Barry Allen actually crashed into like a pillow truck or like a mattress truck, and that was a callback to learning how to use his powers from the first season. He actually ran to the back of like this pillow truck, luckily, because if not, he probably would have died. But great callbacks all around, all these great references. He actually ran into his parents last week. He ran into his parents on the day that his mother was murdered, and so always great to see John Wesley Shipp. Listen, this show does not get enough credit for bringing back the original Barry Allen from the 90s TV show 30 years later and still using him in this show. And he's not playing, technically, he is playing a different character now, right now. He's playing the father of Barry Allen, but he's also played the Flash in this show. And where's all the fanfare? Like, where is all the celebration and the praise? We say Marvel is the greatest ever when they do something that's even like small crossover multiversal thing. But seriously, like this was a show back in the 90s, 30 years ago. We should be celebrating the fact that they've been utilizing this multiverse so well since then. And John Wesley Shipp, I still need to meet the guy. I think he's freaking incredible. But he's played so many speedsters on this show. He's fantastic. Um, so many great callbacks. They actually did a callback in today's episode. Last week's episode, Barry, when he got sent back to the past, he was looking for a woman named Tina McGee, and Tina was Christina McGee, who was the co-lead in the original '90s Flash series. So many great callbacks. I can't wait to see how this wraps up. For all the criticism and the hate that the CW shows get, when they have a story to tell, they always nail it. Crisis on Infinite Earths, the crossover events they've done in the past, they've all been pretty they've all been pretty fantastic. Exemplary? I don't know. They've all been fantastic, and I just think that they're going to wrap this one up really well too. And is this the last one? This is not the last one. Superman and Lois is still ongoing. They're in their 3rd season. But they're going to be the lone wolf. There's not going to be another CW show in the DC universe after this, after other than Superman and Lois. I mean, going forward. So we'll see how long they can hold out, but it doesn't feel like they're trying to extend the CW verse or the Arrowverse any longer. So if you guys are watching The Flash, let us know what you guys think. How do you think this is going to end? Eddie Thawne is actually regaining his memories, and he might he might be a little bitter the fact that he didn't get to live out his life with Iris West, but he also was kind of the hero of that early on season, taking his own life to actually kill off the Reverse Flash. So we'll see what happens, man. I really can't wait to see what happens. I think it's going to be wrapped up really nicely. And kudos to Grant, kudos to this entire cast, this entire crew, Mark Guggenheim, everybody who's been a part of this series. It's not always been up here, but it's been worth watching. And when it was great, the highs were very high when you were watching this show. And if you folks been watching it, you know what I'm talking about. So we'll see how it ends. Legacy Nerd says in the comics, Barry has a twin brother who becomes the ancestor of the Thawne family. Would be really interesting. Would be really interesting if that was Eddie. Yeah, it's gonna be really odd how they look. The thing about these CW shows is they don't always try to answer everything. So the fact that Eddie Thawne died, was sucked into a wormhole, never saw him again, magically shows up 8 years later as a doppelganger, as somebody else who apparently still had a bullet lodged in his chest. I'm not going to ask any more questions about that. Doesn't seem logical, but you know what? I'll go with it. So we'll see how they wrap this up. Can't wait. Awesome. Great episode. Thanks everybody for joining us in the chat. You guys were awesome. Once again, the pinned message in the chat is the link to our website where you guys can get an opportunity to win passes to go see the San Antonio only advanced screening of The Little Mermaid. You can also go to countdowncitygeeks.com for that information. Stay tuned. Next week, we will be reviewing the Fast X movie or Fast 10 movie. We have a screening for that coming out next week if you were lucky enough to win those passes. And I will continue my discussion about the Flash series. We also have more interviews that are dropping this week. Stay tuned for those. Make sure to subscribe on our Facebook and our YouTube channels. And there's just so much good stuff coming out. So many events. Just stay locked into our Facebook page because there's so many great events. There's another horror convention coming up this weekend at the Wonderland Mall of the Americas featuring the original Monster cast from the Monster Squad. How dope is that stuff? I can't wait. For the Geekcast, my name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me on this Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 spoiler review is the one and only Retro Ray.
Thanks for joining us, guys. And like I said, Ted said it himself. We got a lot more fun interviews scheduled actually for the next couple of months. So just stay tuned and just watch out for these to drop.
Absolutely. And returning from the Star Wars Stuff podcast, the one and only David Lozano.
End of an era, guys. Guardians of the Galaxy, man. Hate to see it go, but thanks for watching, listening, liking, subscribing, and I love you guys.
Perfect.
Yep.
Awesome.
Way to go.
For the Guardians of the Galaxy, we're signing off. Peace, guys.